welcome back to another episode of the Government Transformation Podcast. Today, I'm joined by friend of the pod, Deepak Shukla, who is Data and Analytics Lead for Public Sector at Amazon Web Services. So we're talking today about unlocking value from data and generative AI to enable connected government. This is a really hot topic in government digital transformation right now, and Deepak provides some really interesting use cases for this technology in the public sector and shed some light on where he thinks government can and should be exploring this area. As ever, there's lots to dig into, so let's dive straight in. Hi, Deepak. Welcome back to the show. Thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Sam, for inviting me along again. Yeah.
Absolute pleasure. So really looking forward to exploring the many varied aspects of connected government, particularly through the lens of exciting technologies like AI. I think in the current context when governments are under pressure to deliver services very, very quickly and with a lot of pressures, socio-economic challenges, it's really important that they seek new innovative ways to provide these key public services. So really keen to dig into all of this. But before we get started, let's start at the very beginning. Deepak, appreciate you've been on the podcast before, but for the benefit of our listeners who may not have heard those episodes, could you introduce yourself and AWS and how you work with the public sector?
Yes. So, hi everyone. Deepak here. I lead data and analytics for UK and Ireland public sector here at AWS. My role is to actually bring in all the latest thinking, thought leadership, innovation AWS is bringing in across the globe for my customers in the UK and Ireland, especially in public sector areas. So I cover central government, healthcare, local government, and education sectors within our public sector. And yes, I mean, AWS is doing some great work across public sector. Our cloud platform is becoming more and more popular and being adopted by almost all the government and large government organizations. And what I'm doing now is to actually, drive more value from the data that sits within the cloud platform, and drive new and innovative ways of, exploring art of the possible for our customers.
So Deepak, AWS hosted a table on connected government at our recent Data Transformation Summit, and you yourself sat at a table on data strategy looking specifically around emerging technologies like AI. So keen, I guess, to marry those two insights together over the course of our conversations and get a sense of how AI can better connect government. So Deepak, if I can get you to cast your mind back to the summit, what are some of the key lessons and themes around data that you observed during your roundtable discussions? And did you get a sense of the sort of approaches departments are looking at when it comes to building a better connected government, and kind of what practical inputs did you hear on the day?
Yeah, I think first of all, I must say the whole format of the Government Data Summit was really good, where you had those, roundtable discussions. It helped us in having more deeper and meaningful conversations with our customers around certain issues and challenges. So it was really good, and I thoroughly enjoyed. And I think my colleagues in AWS, they enjoyed the whole format and the conversations we've had there. A few themes which I collected. Of course, I think data and AI was the key theme across tables, I will say, because this is becoming so important for the government and public sector to drive more effective and efficient government. But few things which jumped out and I made a note of during the conversation was, number one was how demographic plays a role, right? So one of our participants came in and spoke about people in their mid-20s and 30s have a different relationship with the data and these advanced technologies as compared to the people and citizens who are in their mid-50s and 60s, right? And what we need to do, as we evolve and bring in new technologies, be it AI or digital technologies, we need to ensure that we are looking at that demographic element of the users, right? So that was one. The second, good thing which I heard about, and we do preach a lot around that element, is around how context is becoming very important, right? What's happening now is, information is flowing into different contexts. And what we now need to look at doing is we need to look at mastering the flowing information in different contexts so that it adds value throughout the data lifecycle, right? So that is something that was discussed a lot. And yeah, I think absolutely from data perspective, AI was another topic which, came up a lot during the conversations. Yeah, but it was interesting to hear our customers talking about various themes around how they're adopting modern data strategies and what's the evolution looking like, and more around that.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting, just to kind of echo what you said. I think one of the key takeaways I heard was that there is more information, more data out there, kind of untapped potential, but it's just kind of getting the insight from that is kind of where we need to be headed next, because there's just so much opportunity to kind of make the most of it. But I guess picking up on your kind of your what you were saying about kind of hearing about these different modern data strategies across your discussion tables, what were some of the observations that you had about how government organizations are really looking at this strategy, particularly with the emergence of AI, and what impact do you think this will have on government?
Yeah, look, I think I must admit the whole generative AI wave that has come up recently in the last 6 to 9 months, it has indeed disrupted the industry, right? Especially the data organization, because we all look at, the fancy outcomes and things, which are being enabled by AI and generative AI. But we must remember data is the foundation for, these AI solutions and the generative AI solutions we are looking at. We can create short-term excitement with the outcomes of generative AI and kind of getting good content and, and exciting images and videos using some of these technologies. But if we do not get the data foundation right, in the long run, we'll start losing interest in these solutions, and we'll start seeing these deviating from the core objective we set these things up for. So there was some good discussions on the sidelines of the the roundtables, where and in the past few months I've been engaging with a lot of customers around how do we evolve data strategy to support AI and the recent wave of generative AI, right? And there are a couple of things which I've been discussing a lot with our customers. One is around bringing that product mindset into the mix is really, really important as you're evolving, modern data strategies and the data products and the AI products or Gen AI products we are developing on these new platforms. It is important to have the product mindset so that whatever you're building, you've got an ability to kind of package it up and kind of put that onto sort of a marketplace where not only your organization or department is using it, but any other organization and department, given they follow the right, security and access processes, could, benefit from that, right? So that is really important. Otherwise, we'll see a lot of siloed product solutions being built in different parts of the department where we could have been more smarter in driving more cohesive and coordinated outcomes. So that is one. The second big thing which is coming up is around the role of the CDOs and the chief technology officers. So the chief data officers and the chief technology officers, they now have an additional responsibility to educate their C-suites, the CEOs, the CFOs, and the COOs of these organizations, as well as head of digital, right? To make them understand what these generative AI technologies are, what is AI and how data is important into the mix, what these new terminologies which are floating all across, like large language models, foundational models, machine learning, what does that mean, and what the implication of this is going to have within their organizations and the mission of their organization. So they've got an additional role to play in the mix. And the way I see some of these future strategies evolving, right, the CTOs and CTOs are going to play a more active role in defining the organizational strategies, not just the data strategy, right? So what we are looking at doing in the future, moving from having data and AI as the foundation for the organization to having data and AI being the driver for the future business strategies and the future organizational strategies. So these are the few things that we are observing within the industry and the role we see data and AI playing in the future.
So actually ensuring that the data is kind of being seen more holistically throughout the organization. It would be interesting to see, I guess, because I heard one of the things I heard at the summit was that a lot of CDOs are still not really being given kind of a seat at the top table. So just curious to ask you, like, where do you think what will happen if that they don't really kind of get that top seat at the top table? Are they still able to kind of enforce that strategy around data more holistically, or are you increasingly seeing CDOs kind of being given kind of more influence over a holistic strategy at all, if that makes sense?
Yeah, no, I mean, look, the thing is, they will have to, right? Given, the price for this is too big to ignore, right? So it is no longer an option for CDOs or the CTOs to be given the top table. It is a necessity now, right? Otherwise, some of these organizations are going to lose out on to some of the advancements they could make within their organizations, and others will, leap forward. So that's something that's happening. I think it's going to take some time, but the conversations I can share from my own practical examples. I've been asked to kind of do AI for dummy sessions for some of the senior executives, right? And explain people around what this is all about, and kind of simplify or oversimplify it for execs who do not have a strong data or AI background, right? Which is a hard work, right? Which is a lot, hard work. But for me as as an advisor to our customers, running a session, a couple of sessions is not going to make that impact if the CDOs, CTOs, and some of these leaders are championing this and explaining this to their own organization and regularly doing that, right? So that is what we need to look at as a part of this.
Yeah, really interesting. So yeah, I wanted to touch a bit more on kind of the current context, because we are, as you said, seeing AI really dominate a lot of the conversations in government transformation. And kind of we've seen the recent announcements from the Prime Minister around generative AI and increased government investment into AI solutions. How do you see the UK public sector adopting AI and Gen AI within their operations?
Yeah, look, I think, recent announcements from Prime Minister created a lot of buzz and brought in a lot of energy within the UK public sector, right? So it's really good to see, the leader of the country kind of advocating and again advocating and, trying to make UK the AI superpower and build that global AI hub within the UK. So it's really good. And with a lot of investments he's pouring into this area, of course, I think from a government perspective, they see, a huge positive and value from these technologies. If I look at the UK's previously released national AI strategy, right? So that was a bit light on responsible AI part of it, right? They had some mention of, we need to do this responsibly, right? But if you look at the recent announcement from Rishi Sunak, he's kind of balancing his excitement from the future of the AI to also recognizing the risk and threats it could bring into the society and the communities and the country, right? So, and that's where he's also promising a lot of investment into the research within making AI safe, secure, and more responsible in the UK, right? So I think overall, I feel this is a really good news for the UK public sector. And, and what we are looking to do from a UK perspective is we want to be at the forefront of this technology rather than playing a catch-up role while others will, take it forward. So overall, I see this as a really positive news. And with these investments, we are working with the government across the board on various initiatives in this space as well. I think we'll see some really good positive outcomes coming out in the next few months.
And keen to, I guess, delve into some of those ethical concerns around AI, because there is a lot of conversations happening at the moment with regards to that. What recommendations do you have, Deepak, to ensure that this technology is implemented ethically but also effectively?
Yeah, look, Sam, the responsible AI and ensuring that we are adhering to ethics, from an AI perspective, is not just a technology challenge, right? So if you ask me a question, yes, if everything that we've launched at AWS and I see across industries, we have ability to detect bias, right? We have ability to explain what's being built using some of these AI algorithms and solutions. But technology is only going to take us, so far, right? What it actually needed here is a lot of work around introducing some regulations around AI, also introducing and, building some diverse group of individuals and communities and organizations who can actually look at AI holistically, right? Because something which works for one section of the society doesn't work for other, right? If something works for, males, right? Females might have a different point of view around that. And same thing works, around racial and some of those challenges as well. Now, we've seen AI is solving world's problems, right? We are using AI to, combat poverty. We are looking at net zero and looking at achieving some of those goals, and AI is accelerating that part. There are a lot of good examples of how healthcare is benefiting from the recent advancements in machine learning AI and with Gen AI further accelerating value. But we also know that, a lot of these AI solutions, they've got gender bias baked in, they've got racial bias baked in. We've seen the floating picture picture of Donald Trump getting arrested and, Boris Johnson getting arrested. So we can see that how Gen AI can, on one hand, deliver a lot of value, but on the other hand, create misinformation, and that too at a rapid pace, which has implications on the society and people and generations. So we need to balance this out. I think one of the good thing around ethics is, especially in Europe, if you look at that, European Parliament has recently passed the AI Act, right? Of course, it's going to take a few years before that, gets implemented, but that's a really good move. And, I was reading through the act, and they're looking at certain things, right? For example, the text that is generated by generative AI, there is a call to actually tag that it as is, right? So what is the human generated content and what's the machine generated content? We need to start doing tagging around that. There are also regulations to look at social scoring as well. So as an individual, there are asks to ban social scoring, because if somebody scores somebody based on their social behavior, it could impact their mortgages, insurance policies, and the various other things, right? So there are a lot of ethical and some of those deeper concerns and challenges coming up, which we need to look at as a part of this exercise. I think UK will, I know they're already starting a process around bringing more regulations and ethics with some of the Prime Minister's announcements. There'll be more push around that. But if we bring some of these regulations in and build some of these communities of diverse individuals who are looking at and governing these AI solutions, I think we are up for a really exciting time in the future.
I guess just to take it back to a more practical level, I guess, but I mean, at the summit, you had an opportunity to speak to a really wide range of different government departments, organizations. What were some of the key kind of challenges or concerns that you heard from them around the emergence of AI?
Look, I think in terms of concerns and adoption, I think I actually, at the summit and over the past few months, I've met three kinds of customers, right? Or officials, right? Number one is they're very excited about this, and they are like tech savvy, pro AI, and they want to jump onto Gen AI straight away. In fact, one of the largest public sector organization we are working with, they've launched 3 separate POCs around Gen AI with us. And what they're looking to do is they want to be the first one to do this, right? So this is really good to see from a public sector organization coming up and looking at these things, and they want to learn from this rather than learning from someone else's experiences, right? So that's like one area and one kind of customers we are engaging with. The second kind of customers are more, focused around the data part, right? What they're saying is they recognize that data is the one which is important for these AI models to succeed in long run, and they are engaging us to get their data strategy and their data platforms ready to support Gen AI before they jump onto the Gen AI and the AI bandwagon. And there are third categories of, customers who are like looking at this as a buzz and just quietly observing what's going on, and they would like to see what is it that others are going to bring onto the table, and based on that start adopting some of these solutions, right? So these are like the three kind of diverse group of people we are meeting with. But one thing is for sure, right? Based on the industry estimates, we are expecting generative AI and some of these AI technologies contributing to around $7 trillion into the global GDP over the next 10 years, right? So there's a lot of science which has gone behind, making these bold estimates and predictions. So this is something which cannot be ignored at this stage. So we need to look at ways of how do we keep an eye on this, even though we are part of that third category of customers. We just need to ensure that we are kind of getting ourselves ready, for some of these advancements and embracing them.
It's interesting to hear that there is a strand of public sector that is kind of jumping on the AI bandwagon, and is really keen to kind of explore that and be the first to kind of push those AI boundaries. Because I feel like, I guess traditionally the public sector has perhaps been more slow to come on board these kind of emerging technologies. So it's
yes. No, absolutely. And I think, look, some of our customers, they're already using some of AI services, right? So they see the value from some of these AI services. They're using services to do facial recognition, for example, from Amazon. They're using document text extraction and, AI services to do all of that. So they've experienced firsthand how this thing changes, the whole operational. And that's, that's one of the drivers, because they've seen success from what we call as current AI. And that's the reason why they're more excited about what Gen AI can bring for them as well. And hence they are jumping straight into this as well.
Yeah, so let's delve into that a bit more, I guess. So what popular use cases are governments looking to explore, or perhaps should be looking to explore with AI? And Deepak, can you talk a bit about how AWS can perhaps help meet those needs?
Yeah, so look, if we look at the use cases, Sam, one of our partner organizations, they're like one of the big partners of ours, they've actually launched like 300 plus Gen AI use cases across industries, right? This is really good. I mean, they're looking at use cases across various parts of the organizational value chain, and where some of these use cases will drive value and make an impact, right? Which is really good. I think in terms of popular use cases for public sector, based on my personal experience, a few things which are being adopted really quickly. So we've got something called auto code generator, right? So what that service does is, as a technical developer in your IT department, you just need to think about the logic and the problem statements that you are looking to solve with your software. You enter that information into this tool, and this comes, response with the code, which you can then copy from this tool and apply it into your technical environments. So it gives you a good high quality, complying to all the right standards, code, which is becoming so it's actually improving the IT department's efficiencies and their ability to kind of launch software products faster. This is really, and for me, it's like a no-brainer. I think everybody should use it because it's only going to help them and speed the whole process of the way they're doing software engineering. Other good example of public sector use cases is one of our customers is adopting and looking to do a POC around call text summarization. So what they're looking at doing is, you've got lengthy calls in your call centers, 2 hours, 3 hours. You put that call text into the Gen AI solution, it turns it into 100-word summary. So what that does is, it helps you save a lot of time around listening to those 2 hour or, drive analytics from the speech and all. But you can get 100-word summary of what that call was all about and what the call to action for that is. And along with this, there are lots of use cases we are exploring. For example, in procurement, we are actually looking at auto-generating some of the tender documents, right? How tenders and that process is so lengthy and a big problem within public sector. We are looking at Gen AI to kind of auto-generate tenders, look at vendor assessments using some of these technologies. In human resources as well, Gen AI is promising, you can get better candidates, better suitable for the roles. You can write better job descriptions as well for the roles you are hiring for, right? Using some of these Gen AI technologies. So yeah, so these are some of the kind of, good examples of what we are seeing. At AWS, we've also launched a program where any of our customers in public sector, if they want to explore about Gen AI, we're bringing a lot of investments from AWS as well to help them start a POC or a proof of concept with a partner of their own choice. We're also facilitating, we've got a program where using that program, we engage the C-suite and the leadership within our customers' organizations to engage them into the driving strategic directions and aligning their stakeholders at the C-level for the future AI strategy. So there are some programs, and these are all AWS-sponsored programs, which our customers could benefit from.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I feel like I could definitely use some AI help in a lot of the things that I do. So that was quite helpful there, hearing some of the interesting tools that are being used at the moment. But curious, I guess, to know how the private sector can help inform and educate public sector organizations on the art of the possible, kind of ultimately helping them kind of create a better connected government environment. Are there any lessons we can take from there?
Yeah, I think if you look at the private sector, I mean, one of the best example I see is our Amazon.com itself, right? So, generative AI, of course, there's a lot of buzz in the industry about this now, but Gen AI is not something new for Amazon, right? If you look at Amazon.com and the search functionality we have on the Amazon.com website, it is already using generative AI capability. So to advance, enhance search functions that we offer to our customers. Alexa, for example, is using large language models and generative AI capabilities to respond to the customers' questions and queries and becoming more and more smart over time. So that's something that's been done. And at AWS, what we've done with some of the recent announcements and the services that we have launched across the globe, we have actually packaged some of these large language models in the Gen AI solutions, which are already being used within Amazon.com, and we are bringing that for our customers. So what that means is you're already getting some good learnings from how these solutions have been used in a large organization like Amazon. Some of the learnings we've got from there, and that's going to help public sector and whoever is adopting these services to drive more value faster and get more assurance on the outcomes that they are expecting from these solutions. So I think that's a good example of how private sector could help into the mix. And yes, so I think that is the key thing here, right? Because at AWS, we're taking a very responsible approach towards AI and Gen AI. We have technology is ready to go. It's already being used by various parts to ensure that it's actually meeting the mission of the organizations we are working with, rather than create a short-term excitement and then we don't know where this is going.
Yeah, and that's the key, I guess, always making sure there is a business case, because it can sound exciting and I guess you can feel like you have to implement it, but only where it can help. I guess that's key. And Deepak, before you leave us, I'm keen to kind of conclude on any other kind of themes, takeaways that you had from the summit, anything that surprised you, any innovative solutions or hints at what the future holds in terms of how AI can kind of build a better connected government.
Yeah, I think based on the discussions I've had, one of the quotes which I loved a lot during my discussions at the roundtable was, there was an ask from one of the head of the data for a large public sector organization. She was like, we need to look at our organizations to design data before they design their applications. Right. So I think that was like a really good quote I heard. And actually, it took me back, 10 years ago when I was working on a large digital transformation program. And I was working as a data architect, and my role was to actually do exactly the same, right? Help design the data and connect various systems and connect various departments to drive that real-time, connected government kind of. It was not a public sector customer, but it was more into the retail side. We create that connected enterprise. And guess what? I had to actually spend about 2 months on that program explaining everyone what my role is, what the value of this connected data, brings for the organizations. And I was building like canonical data models to drive, the data at the center of the whole transformation. But it took me a while to first of all convince my own bosses and the customers for them to understand the value from the data, but not anymore, right? But if I look at this today, data is one of the first conversations we do when we start planning and shaping a large transformation. So which is all really good news, from a data perspective. And I feel that data and AI are going to be the drivers for the next wave of digital transformation across UK public sector, right? So that is, all the new ideas and thinking. We'll have to look at the way of how we can bring it into this, right? So I think we are in really exciting times at the moment, especially in the data and AI world, and there's a lot more to come as well.
Great stuff. And yeah, great to hear that data's finally being given the recognition it deserves then.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, data used to be the afterthought, right? Based, I was talking to one of my mentors the other day. We used to work on a program up in Helsinki about, 15 years ago. And guess what? My project was to actually define, and state why data is an asset for that organization and the value data can bring and, that. But at the summit, one of the roundtable attendees, she came in and said that data is the second most important asset for our organization. And the first most important is their people, right? So after people, they're looking at data as the second most important asset for the organization. So this is a huge leap in the way organizations are looking at it. And I was actually surprised to see some maturity in some of those discussions as well around AI, where there was a huge recognition that yes, this is all good for short-term buzz and values, but for long-term sustainable AI solutions need to have a strong data foundation where you are able to ingest, these unstructured, structured data, complex data sets from images, videos, and all, and use those advanced compute services to ensure that the whole platform is there to support the vision that you are displaying for your stakeholders, citizens, and the communities.
Yeah, no, really interesting, and yeah, great to hear that the data is really becoming kind of front and center of those, really driving those transformation programs in government. It's definitely watch this space. It's just going to get more more interesting, I think, as the months and years go on. But Deepak, no, really appreciate you coming on the podcast again. Always great to have you, and thank you so much for your insights.
No, thank you. It was my pleasure again. All the best. Yeah.
Great stuff.